Have you ever stopped to think about how many opportunities you're missing out on because you're afraid of what people might think? What if I told you that the fear of judgment is holding you back way more than you realize? Today, I'm going to show you how to break free from that and start living without the weight of others' opinions. How many times have you avoided doing something out of fear of what others might say? And does their judgment really have any power over your life? The answer is simple, it doesn't. The fear of judgment is useless, and the real key to growth and success is putting yourself in situations that challenge you. That's how you realize people aren't watching you as closely as you think. All right, so here's the deal. The aim of this video is to help you walk away not caring about what others think anymore. And that's by adopting what I call a Buddha mindset. First off, we gotta understand why we care so much about people's opinions. Why do we fear judgment so deeply? When I started diving into shyness, fear of judgment, and worrying about others' opinions, I realized that this fear is rooted in our primitive brain. It's part of our history, you know? Think about it. Back then, we lived in small villages, tight-knit groups of humans, and we had to care about what others thought. Why? Because if someone didn't like something we did, whether it was a joke, a behavior, or whatever, we could risk being exiled from the tribe. And being exiled back in the day, that was basically a death sentence. See, we're social creatures, right? Tribal animals. We need connection. And back then, if you were kicked out of the tribe, you'd lose protection, food, warmth, all the stuff that made you feel safe. So this fear of judgment is still deep within us today. But here's the thing. In this modern world, fearing judgment doesn't make much sense anymore. I've said it in tons of videos, but let me remind you. Today, you're worried about getting kicked out of a tribe when there are so many tribes out there now. You can literally join any group that aligns with who you are, whether you're stressing over what some girl thinks or what other guys think, or even other women, it doesn't matter anymore. If you don't vibe with one friend group, guess what? The world is huge. There's always another group out there that's a better fit for you. I get it, though. It's a process, and it's not easy. But today, I'm going to show you exactly how to embrace the mindset of letting go of what others think and finding the right people who will push you to grow. Now, here's something I always say. We don't actually fear other people's judgment. What we're really afraid of is them discovering the parts of ourselves we've been hiding. So we bury our issues deep, sweeping them under the rug. Our mind is a wild place. It's got both positive and negative thoughts. Usually the negative ones are just our brain's way of telling us we've got unresolved stuff we need to face, and it's totally normal to hide things. It's a way to avoid feeling distracted, inferior, or just plain uncomfortable. But here's a cool technique I learned from David Goggins. It's called the mirror of truth. The idea is simple. You stand in front of the mirror and lay out the cold, hard truths about yourself. Let it all out, your mistakes, your demons, your traumas. This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about being real with yourself, facing those things you've been avoiding, and ultimately setting yourself free from the weight of judgment. Before we dive deeper into today's topic, I want to quickly mention something that will really complement what we're talking about. I've left a list of 4 incredible books in the description that are game changers for personal development. These books will help you build confidence, overcome fear, and truly embrace your authentic self. Exactly what we're working on here. So make sure to check them out after the video. So here's the thing. When it comes to dealing with self-acceptance, that's really the first step to embracing what I call the Buddha mindset. It's also how you stop caring about other people's judgment. Why? Because once you've got nothing left to hide, you're basically not scared of what anyone thinks anymore. Judgment is just fear that people will discover what you're hiding. So if you've got nothing to hide, there's no fear. No judgment holds power over you anymore. Self-acceptance, though, goes deeper than just knowing your strengths and weaknesses. It's also about realizing that you're unique. Whether you're a guy or a woman watching this, you've got your own vibe, your own charisma, your own style. You've got to see your own worth to the point where you know exactly who you are and feel comfortable in your skin. The first step, accept both your strengths and your weaknesses. There's no light without shadow, you know? Everyone's got a shadow, everyone's got flaws. And honestly, your biggest strength probably only exists because you've got an opposite, a flaw. Take me, for example. When I get into my flow, like when I'm teaching this lesson, I'm super focused. Once I'm locked in, nothing can pull me out. I know that my strength is my ability to communicate and deliver a message with confidence and presence. But on the flip side, I've got shadows. My mind, man, it's all over the place sometimes. And I tend to overthink things. Just like you, probably. I've got my own excesses, and I've had to learn to accept them. See, most people look at their shadow or their imperfections and think, I gotta get rid of that. But that's not how I see it. There's this episode of Rick and Morty where they go to a spa and it literally removes all their toxic traits. But the moral of the story? You wouldn't be you without your flaws. You can't separate yourself from your imperfections because they're part of what makes you whole. The best way to stop fearing judgment is to embrace both your strengths and weaknesses. And before we move on, I want to give you a little exercise to do every week. Grab a notebook, or heck, even your phone, and open a notes app. Every week, write down 3 strengths or qualities you notice about yourself. These can be things you observe, or maybe others point them out to you. Ask people if you need to. Do this weekly, and by the end of the year, or even just a month, you'll have a list of 12 solid things about yourself. That's when you'll start to realize you're way more than you give yourself credit for. Trust me on this. I've been working with men for years, and now I'm working with women too. And I know there are some women watching this. One thing I've realized is that most people struggle to recognize their strengths. We tend to think we're way worse than we actually are. Seriously, go out and ask people to rate their own attractiveness. They always give themselves a lower score than they deserve. I'm guilty of it too. There are days I think, man, I'm looking good today. But then other days, I downplay it to stay humble or avoid seeming arrogant. The point is, most people don't value their good qualities, and that's a total setback, especially when building self-confidence. So here's my next tip. Always question your thoughts, especially the negative, destructive ones. When you find yourself in a situation where fear of judgment is kicking in hard, that's the moment to step back and ask, does this thought even make sense? Most of the time, our fear of judgment or what others think is based on assumptions and distortions. Remember, the only things we really have control over are our thoughts and actions. Trying to control or assume what someone else is thinking about you, that's ego, plain and simple. Let it go. Here's the thing. Why do you think you're the center of the universe? Like, why do you believe people are constantly watching you, thinking about you, or criticizing you? Reality check, they're not. So whenever a destructive thought pops up like, oh, this person's judging me, or they're talking bad about me, ask yourself, do I even have control over this? No, right? Second question, does what I'm thinking about myself actually make sense? Probably not. If you can't control it, then let it go. To be clear, you need to let your thoughts flow, but letting them flow is different from clinging to them. Stop holding on to destructive thoughts, man. Let your mind wander, but don't get too attached to a thought that honestly probably doesn't even make sense. I compare it to how I used to be in relationships. I'm going to be real with you guys, since we're in this together. I used to constantly ask my partner, is everything okay? Is there something wrong? I realized that was just my way of trying to control how they perceived the relationship. Why? Because of destructive thoughts, like, am I being a good man? Am I doing the right things in this relationship? It was like I had to keep checking, am I doing everything right for this person? But that's just another way of listening too much to destructive thoughts or holding on to a fear that's out of my control. So the best thing I could do in a relationship, instead of constantly looking for problems or checking in on whether the person's okay, is just to do my best. If I give my best, they're going to feel it. If they're aligned with me, they'll return that energy. Otherwise, no amount of checking in or asking is going to change what they think. You feel me? So, question every thought that comes your way, especially the negative ones. Does it even make sense? Because when you start breaking down these thoughts rationally, you realize that most of the time, we're just making stuff up. Our minds take us on wild rides, inventing things that aren't even real. So be careful. Don't let one thought drag you down into some dark rabbit hole. One way to start working on this is by writing down when these destructive thoughts pop up in your life. For example, you might think, man, when I'm at the gym, I feel way too skinny. Everyone around me is jacked, and I'm scared they're judging me for doing an exercise wrong. Or maybe it's, I'm scared of presenting a project. It's not just one person judging me, it's a whole room of people, and I have no control over what they're thinking. I'm afraid I'll mess up. Write down the specific moments in your life when these destructive thoughts creep in. Then go back and review what you've written and ask, does this thought even make sense? Is it in my control? You'll see that most of the time it doesn't make sense and is totally out of your control. So let it go. Now here's something big. Practice pure empathy, man. Listen to what I'm about to tell you because it might just change the way you see things. The best way to deal with judgment is to understand that humans naturally judge, but it's almost never really about you. It's usually more about them. Think about it. The only perspective we have is our own. Trying to control someone else's perspective is just straight up foolish. It's a waste of energy. You're never going to be able to do that. When you understand the motivations behind someone else's judgment, criticism, or even their compliments, you become bulletproof. You're immune to both positive and negative comments because you realize it's more about their worldview than about you. So here's the thing. When you start understanding why someone is talking bad about you or judging you, you begin to grasp the motivation behind their actions. You can't control whether someone criticizes you or not. The only thing you can control is how you respond to it. So why is this person criticizing me? One thing I've learned as a content creator is to practice empathy, especially when it comes to haters online. Once I implemented this for real, dealing with hate became 10 times easier. I started to understand that while a lot of people like me, I can't let those positive comments get too deep into my heart. If I do, I'll start thinking I'm a god, and I'm not. I'm just a regular guy. At the same time, I can't take to heart the negative comments from people who are out there cussing me out or saying I don't know anything. These people don't even know me. So why would I let their words affect me? Chances are they've got their own problems at home. They're stressed, angry at the world, and the only way they know how to deal with that is by lashing out at someone on the internet who's putting themselves out there. That's why I say, when you understand why people think the way they do, when you get what's behind their judgment, you realize it's just human nature. And when you understand that, you stop caring so much. One way to stop caring is to realize that it's normal. It's going to happen whether you do things right or wrong. People will always talk. You could join this self-improvement journey, invest in yourself, and people will be like, why are you even doing that? What's the point? But if you don't invest in yourself, those same people will criticize you too, saying you're not doing anything with your life. People will always judge, no matter what you do. It's human nature. Once you get that, you can relax a bit. Now, here's a practical empathy exercise that'll help you a lot. Make a mental list of who's worth listening to and who's not. This helped me for a long time. It's powerful to be able to block out stuff and stay bulletproof. It makes you strong. But at the same time, you can't be blind to constructive criticism from people who actually matter to you. There are friends I want to hear from because I know they care about me and want what's best for me. Now, if some random person criticizes me and has no idea who I am, that's not important. But if it's someone who knows me well and is giving me genuine feedback, I'm going to listen. Usually, this is your close friends, your family. The people who make up what I call the brotherhood, the true friends. Over time, you'll learn how to identify those real friends. I'll be teaching you how to do that on this channel. There are a few tricks, some tough lessons, but in the end, you'll build a real alliance, a brotherhood you can trust. That's where something I call gradual exposure comes into play. Whether you're a guy or a girl watching this video right now, if you're still holding on to that deep-rooted fear of other people's opinions, you're holding yourself back. I'm 100% sure of that. You're missing out on being bold in your life. And let me tell you, boldness is nothing more than acting with courage. Taking action even when you're afraid. So look at the situations in your life where you don't have the guts to act, like posting that one fire picture you've been holding back or recording a story. It might sound basic, but seriously, these small acts of gradual exposure are essential. They help you realize that honestly, people don't care about you as much as you think they do. And when that clicks, when you understand that people aren't focused on you, your mindset becomes way more relaxed. You stop walking on eggshells. Right now, you might be tiptoeing around, doing everything to please others or avoid messing up. But when you decide to say, screw these eggshells, I'm walking my way, you'll feel freer. You'll see that people are too busy focusing on themselves to judge you. I get it though, it's not easy. In theory, it all sounds nice, but in practice, it's tough, right? So start by identifying situations where you feel fear because of what others might think. Then begin to tackle them slowly. I mentioned posting a picture or a story, but it could be other things. Maybe it's talking to strangers on the street, or for women, building more connections and networking. I know guys often struggle with interacting with the opposite sex or making new friends, but women too face challenges, whether at work or school, when it comes to presenting something. Many women, especially the ones I've worked with, tend to be incredibly detail-oriented and might create amazing work, but still feel insecure about expressing themselves or sharing their art. So expose yourself gradually. Start small, at work, with people, in conversations. Build your network little by little, even if it's just saying hi or having a brief conversation. First, understand where you're at. Ask yourself, what makes me uncomfortable? What freaks me out just thinking about it? Whatever those things are, start tackling them little by little. If you're scared of talking to strangers, whether it's at an event on the street or at a party, start with a simple hi in your everyday life. Then move to something like, how's your day going? Or what do you do? Gradual exposure is key. There's one word that will help you stop caring about other people's opinions if you embrace it in your lifestyle. You know what it is? Conviction. When you focus on your skills, your attributes, and what you're capable of as a human being, you'll start to see results. And those results will make you care less and less about what others think, because you'll start to understand your worth. You'll hear a lot about self-worth here, but because when you have conviction, when you study something, focus on a topic, and start seeing results, your brain validates that you're good at it. And that validation makes you stop worrying about others' opinions. Let me give you an example from my own journey. When I first started as a content creator, I doubted myself a lot because people doubted me all the time. I wasn't a successful guy before this. I was that kid who had tried everything to make money, rollerblading, skateboarding, you name it. I tried it. I didn't have it figured out. I was always on the move, and because I wasn't really nailing one thing, since I was trying so many different things, people started thinking I wouldn't succeed at anything. So when I started this journey, the judgment came hard. But here's the thing. Humans have only evolved because of our ability to communicate and form relationships. And yeah, there were times when I doubted myself. I'd think, is this really it? You see, my dad spent his whole life telling me I wouldn't amount to anything because I didn't like school. So I started questioning it. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm not going to be anything. But then, when I put my head down and started studying something I actually enjoyed and began seeing results, I realized, screw what people think about my work. I'm putting myself out there on the internet, and look at how many people I'm helping. Look at how many lives I'm impacting. I'm changing lives here, and that's amazing. It filled me up in a way nothing else could. And honestly, I have to thank you all again, because you've played a huge part in my growth, both as a man and as a person. When I understood the deeper meaning of being truly useful to the world, it hit me like, wow, I'm developing a skill that's useful for men and women alike, and they're getting real results from it. They're growing alongside me. So why would I care about anything else? Here's how you can apply this to your own life. Become really good at something. Maybe it's your job, a sport, or even a hobby, anything you can really improve at. Choose one or two skills, focus on them, and get better and better. The more results you see, the more conviction you'll have, and the less you'll care about anyone's opinions. And hey, Here's a bonus tip I want to throw in that ties into everything I've been saying. Develop a growth mindset and a love for challenges, because that's key to embracing the fuck it mentality I've been talking about. Here's a practical exercise I want you to start doing. Anytime you see a problem or challenge that scares you, like presenting a project or posting a video online, don't look at it as a problem anymore. See it as a challenge for you to overcome and grow. When I shifted my mindset from, oh man, going live and recording videos is a problem, to this is just a challenge to help me improve my communication, I grew 100x faster. So start seeing every little fear you have, every tiny bit of doubt, as a challenge to push yourself further and get more confident. That's how you throw the on what others think. When you look at these situations and think, I could never do that, or I'll never face this, you lock yourself in that fear. If you keep thinking like that, you'll never step into the pressure zone, never step into discomfort. And it's exactly in that discomfort, under that pressure, where you face the judgment and realize it doesn't kill you. That fear, it's useless. So shift your mindset, treat every bit of fear like a challenge, and watch how you start to grow. So the key takeaway here is by putting yourself in those tough situations where judgment or other people's opinions might come into play, that you learn the fear of judgment is not in your control. It's useless to worry about it, and it doesn't help you grow. What helps you grow is constantly exposing yourself to those situations. Like I've said before, you'll learn a lot about friendship, alliances, and brotherhood here. But in this lesson, it's especially important to talk about the power of surrounding yourself with positive and encouraging people. Why? Because if you're always surrounded by people who judge and point fingers at you, dealing with judgment gets way tougher for anyone. I know that for most of us, we all have at least one person in our family or social circle that we can't really cut off. And those people might constantly judge or criticize you. It's not always easy to distance yourself from them because of the context of your life. But it's crucial to start recognizing that the more you surround yourself with the right people, the ones who don't judge and actually encourage you to be yourself, the more powerful your life becomes. Take this team here, for example. The reason this whole company works is because we encourage each other. I'm always telling everyone to be themselves. No one here ever fakes anything just to please me or to fit in with the tribe. This is a tribe where everyone is supposed to be themselves. And how do I motivate you to be yourself? Simple. By being me. I'm just me, and you'll see that. You'll notice it in my authenticity, in the way I speak, in how I communicate with raw honesty. That's me showing my most authentic side, and I want to do that for you guys too. I want to share deep content, but also my truest self, so you can really get to know me. So surround yourself with people who push you to embrace your most authentic self, your uniqueness. When I'm myself with this group, they support me, they like me for who I am. I can crack my dumb jokes and they love it. The same goes for women meeting a man. If you're yourself with him and he accepts you, embrace that relationship. For men meeting a woman, if you can be your true self with her without faking anything and she accepts you, that's rare, man. Hold on to that. When you find people like this, your life takes off. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop living in fear. You're no longer trying to fit into different boxes for different groups. You're free. You're unstoppable. And that's huge. Here's one more analogy for you. Don't be a sponge. Be a sieve. Emotions, external stimuli, both positive and negative, are going to come at you. You need to understand them, process them, and let them go. If you're a sponge, you just soak everything up, whether it's information, emotions, actions, whatever, and you end up overloaded. But if you're a sieve, you let things flow through you. Let me break this down. It's crucial to stay emotionally detached. When someone who's really sad talks to you, you can feel their emotion, but you don't let it consume you. And when someone is really happy, you can be happy with them, but don't get carried away. Keep your feet on the ground. When you learn to be a sieve, not letting either positive or negative energy take over your heart, you become that cool, controlled person. Not cold in the wrong way. Too much coldness isn't good, but cool in the right way, where you live your own philosophy without fear of what others think. Now, about that philosophy of life, You guys are going to build your own philosophy here, a unique one. You'll learn to do that. And once you're living your philosophy, you won't feel the need to explain yourself to anyone. You won't care about the opinions of others. You'll just do what you believe is right. And here's the key. Only listen to the opinions of people who actually matter in your life. That's it. When you stop caring about what you can't control, when you stop giving attention to external stimuli that don't serve you, you'll have mastered the true fuck it mentality. And that's the real deal. Caring about everything in life doesn't make sense. You've got to put meaning into the right things. I'm with you all the way. Hope you enjoyed this. That's it. As we've talked about today, breaking free from the fear of judgment is the key to unlocking your true potential. Remember, people aren't watching you as much as you think, and the real growth comes from putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations. The more you face your fears, the stronger and more confident you'll become. Thanks so much for watching all the way through. If you found this helpful, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, and let's keep growing together. See you in the next one.